Meanwhile, it's now been nearly 2 weeks since the death of George Floyd sparked nationwide demonstrations, and police say they are still unable to report just how many protesters have actually been arrested. This is a key issue in a lawsuit that has been filed by some of the demonstrators who claim that police used excessive force to clear peaceful protests and held thousands of people for hours without access to bathrooms or water. NBC4's I-Team has been tracking the cases, and our investigative reporter Eric Leonard joins us live once again with more. Eric?
Hey, Chuck, so far we've only been able to assemble anecdotal accounts from officials who said midweek last week more than 2,600 people had been detained or arrested for curfew or these other minor violations. Now, prosecutors have will file criminal charges, but some of those detained have begun legal action of their own. And both the LAPD and the LA County Sheriff's Department still say this complete count is not available, and these are for people who were forced off the streets, then held in makeshift jails and accused of breaking curfew orders to clear the streets. The LAPD said this week it wasn't clear when it would know. The Sheriff's Department said it might have more information tomorrow, and this number could be a big factor in the lawsuit filed last week by the National Lawyers Guild and 3 other law firms. That case asks to represent all of those arrested as protesters or who were cleared from the scenes of demonstrations as a class action. It alleges the LAPD violated the group's First Amendment rights to assemble and protest. The case lists Black Lives Matter as the lead plaintiff. It also accuses police of using what they say were unjustified baton strikes and less than lethal weapons haphazardly on the crowd, and later forcing those who were detained to wait for hours for processing without access to bathrooms or water. Both the LA County DA, LA City Attorney have said these groups will not face any kind of criminal charges as a result of their arrests. Now, to be clear, these are people suspected of, or I should say, are not suspected of serious crimes like looting and vandalism. Those arrests are much fewer. They number in the hundreds. Prosecutors say charges have been filed in about 60 of those cases so far. The LAPD doesn't comment on allegations and lawsuits. It's worth noting some of the same lawyers that are suing now just settled a case for the alleged mistreatment of street demonstrators in 2014. Those were for protests that followed the killing of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. One last note, City Council took up 2 motions today related to these protests. One would dismiss the idea that the people who were arrested should suffer any kind of penalty, criminal or not. The second, that the LAPD should have to pay for the cost of impounding their cars during the protests. Back to you in the studio.
Hey, Eric, I have to ask you about this. Now, obviously, you say the LAPD is not releasing any specific arrest numbers. However, they did, or somebody in the department, release some what I would call shocking crime statistics, not numbers, but percentages. Can you help us with that?
Sure. The LAPD said in some social media posts this week that the number of murders recorded in the city of LA are up by 250% in the last week. The number of shootings up by about 50%. Almost all of these happening in the LAPD's Central Bureau, which encompasses downtown LA and some of the communities around it. Some of the shootings appear gang-related. But keep in mind, while that percentage sounds really big, it's also because violent crime has been falling by double-digit numbers in recent months. That's, of course, related to the coronavirus and the directives that so many people stay at home. A few weeks back, we reported there was another 1-week spike where there was a series of shootings that led to injuries and several murders around South LA. Police jumped on that quickly. They actually credited community groups with doing gang intervention work amidst the coronavirus for getting involved and stopping that from escalating further. Those same things are at work now.
All right, Eric Leonard, you straightened it out for us. Appreciate that. Now,